things. I still got people telling me they can't get to My Labs Plus. All right, I am recording, so. How many ways can you get to My Labs Plus? 2. Tell me how. Through Blackboard. And what's the other one? Through the website. Which one's the most reliable? The website. I still got people telling me they can't, their computer spins round and round. They don't watch the videos, they don't watch the handout, they don't read the handouts. I don't know what else to do. I mean, I really don't. The other day, I pulled up the test in all my classes, right? Y'all remember me pulling up the test? What did I tell you when I put the dates on there? What did I tell you? I was going to get 15 ham and eggers, hammy squirrels. Oh my gosh, I got 10 emails. 10! Saying, did I miss a test? You didn't watch the video. You didn't watch the video. Most of those people were absent, okay? But what did they neglect to do? When you're absent, what do you need to do? Watch the video. Okay, so let's go over this again. 2 ways to get to My Labs Plus. After you go through Blackboard and you get to My Labs Plus, use the website after that, because Blackboard never stays up. How many times has it been down when you tried to pull it up this year? Maybe once or twice. I've gotten 2 or 3 emails that says Blackboard's down. At least twice. And this is only the 2nd week. So use the website. And the other teachers that are so crazy about Blackboard, they can deal with it on their own. Okay? Anybody got any questions so far, except for those 2 things? Anybody got any questions on anything so far? Okay. Did y'all find out the Apple thing? What did you find out?
You just got to download Google Chrome.
Okay. Apple people, you got to download Google Chrome. And did it work okay after that?
Yeah, you just got to do the same steps that you do for whenever you do it.
Okay. Now, what about the website? Does the website work better than Blackboard through Google Chrome, or did you try it?
I didn't try the website. I just did Blackboard.
Well, like I say, if you want to use Blackboard, that's great. But if it doesn't work, you've got a back door, and I would use the back door more often. But anyway, that's just me. So now let's pull up the questions so you can get your notebooks out, because we're going to go over those. The questions are sent to me through Ask My Instructor, and I've got several, and they're 1.1, so that's a good thing. So when you see these questions sent to me, the first thing you should say is, okay, which one is it? Well, it says it. Okay, there's 1.1, 19, 29, and 51. Now, what does this number mean right here? And I want you to write this down, because I'm not going to repeat it after today. When you say, what's number 19? I'm going to say, I have no idea. Number 19, that is the one in the book. So if you turn to 1.1 in the book, 1.1 homework, and look at number 19, this question is similar to number 19 in the book. Well, what number is it on our homework, online homework? It's number 10. That's what that number is. So you need to make a distinction between those 2 numbers on the homeworks. When I pull up Ask My Instructor questions, that's when you need to make a note of those 2 numbers. The first number at the top is the homework in the book. It's like the homework problem in the book. It's not the same, similar. And then number 10 means everybody's online homework on 1.1 is the 10th problem. Number 10, question number 10. Okay? Just different numbers, different words, similar question. Capiche? So, I have no idea what this is asking. Probably something about discrete or quantitative or qualitative. Determine whether the variable is qualitative or quantitative. It's qualitative. Why? Just like you're put beside this zip code, put comma, SS number. Why? It's a number, but why is it not quantitative? Okay, tell me what it means. Tell me what the mathematical definition of a zip code is. It's location. It's not a mathematical representation. It doesn't say 2 plus 5 is 8. Okay? It doesn't have any mathematical significance. So that's why it is a quantitative. It's qualitative. It shouldn't be quantitative. It should be qualitative. Now, which one? Read those. I ain't gonna read them because I can't read. But which one says it's qualitative? Which one? C. The variable is qualitative because it is an attribute characteristic. It's a location. That should be your answer. Okay? Look at there. We got it right. So we don't have to put smokestacks on our truck. We feel good about ourselves. All right. Next question. Now, a lot of people say, oh my God, I can't believe we're going over this. Remember, if you knew the material, you wouldn't be what? In the class. So you do not know everything. This person sent this question. And let me tell you something about the Ask My Instructor questions for all you know-it-alls. Okay? The Ask My Instructor questions, if one person has sent that question, what does that mean about 5 or 6 other people? They probably have the same question. So even though you are Jesus Christ and you already know everything, some people what? Don't. And that's who I teach to. I could care less. Remember, you don't have to be here. If you already know everything, stay home, create a cure for what? Cancer. All right? I have to say that to every one of my classes because there are people that, oh, I'm bored. Stay home. Simple as that. Question. All right. Now somebody says, who's he talking to? I'm not talking to anybody. I tell that to every one of my students. I told people that yesterday when we started questions. You have these people that feel like they have to broadcast that they already know. Nobody cares what you know. The only thing that you care about is what you know. But you have people, they have some kind of self-esteem issues, hair, height, other things. We won't go into that. All right, so we'll delete that one. Next one, 1.1, 29. This is like number 29 in the book and number 13 online. And I usually go over questions first before I start, so we'll be going over all this in 1.1 and 1.2 because I go through and I highlight. Determine whether the quantitative, that means numerical, or is discrete or continuous. Now we're going to go over this today, all right, because this is one of the biggest test questions that people screw up, even the know-it-alls screw it up, all right? All you've got to say is this. All right, discrete equals count. Write that down. Discrete equals count. And then put equals eggs. Everybody got that? Now, continuous equals measure equals weight. Now, this is pretty much a majority of female class. No, it's not. It's about half and half, but I'll just go ahead and use this example. All right. How many of you have gone to the doctor's office and the scale says 150 pounds, and when you get home, the scale says 140 pounds? Some of you, that happens. Oh, mine's perfect. Okay, well, you're perfect. Okay. How many of you go out, if I tell you to go outside right now and measure the height of the fire hydrant in the middle of the parking lot? Okay. Half of you wouldn't be able to do it because you can't read a ruler. But the ones that can read a ruler, let's say there's 15 of you that can read a ruler, how many different measurements will I get? 5 or 6. Why? Because it's a measurement. Okay, it is a measurement. Think of it like this. How many people have mamas that can cook real good? Do they use recipes or do they just cook from memory? So their pinch of salt may not be the same as what? Your pinch of salt. It's a measurement. Anything measured is continuous. You'll be surprised. I asked what is the distance from here to Target? Is that continuous or is that discrete? And everybody will say discrete. What is measured? Give me the 5 biggest things that are measured. Any of you science people, what is measured? Time. Well, time is measured, but that's not one, no. Yeah, you can say time. Yes, you can. But besides time, We won't get into time because we can't change time. But what else is measured? Distance. So there's two things, time, distance. What else? Weight. Height. Somebody, y'all should be writing this down. Okay. Weight, height, and give it, okay, you're getting to width, but there's two things. It starts with an A and a V. Area and volume. Okay, for whoever said height, width. Okay? So I'm giving you examples. Okay, there's 30 people in here. I'll still have 5 or 6 people miss that question. I don't know why. I really don't. The way they word it, if it's measured, it is continuous. Now, what do you mean? Why is it time? Why is it time? Well, how many of you could look at, before cell phones, how many of you would look at your watch and have different times? Case in point. Now, you can't say that because all the cell phones are tied into one network, so all the cell phones have the same time. Okay? But time is measured, so it is continuous. Some people argue that time is discrete, and it's not. Okay? And plus, can we control time? No. Even though some others try to, but we won't get into that. If you've ever been to cheerleading competitions or dance recitals, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I would probably say this is weight of a child. It is either A or C. Which one is it? Well, measured is the same as not countable, so you might want to write that down beside measured because evidently the homework is not going to use measured, it's going to use not countable. What is a dozen eggs? Discrete. What is, how many vehicles are in the parking lot? Discrete. All right. If I close the gates right now, just close the gates, and I tell y'all to, and the parking lot is designated as instructors and students. Okay. If I tell y'all to go out there right now and count all the vehicles, and I close the gates and count all the vehicles in the parking lot, there's 30 people in here. 28 of you will probably get the same number. Okay? Because there's probably two that don't know how to count above 10 or 15. But you still have this 10%. You always have 10% that's going to screw it up. Okay? So you're going to count those cars. That is discrete. This is a question on the test. The quantitative and qualitative is a question on the test. Notice I said A. I don't give but one because they're kind of like freebies, even though some people screw it up. But dozen eggs is countable. Cars are countable. And then you got to make the distinction between countable and measured. Okay? So hopefully that you feel good about yourself so you don't have to wear sunglasses in the gym. Look over there. We got it right. If you haven't seen people wear sunglasses, I'm sorry, it's usually guys that wear sunglasses in the gym, they look like idiots. Kind of like the guys you ever seen the guys that walk around with a gallon of water? Whatever. They're water bottles. You fill them up, okay? Whatever. Oh, psychology. Psychology is one of the best courses in the world, okay? I don't care if you're a civil engineering major. Take as many psychology classes as you can. Why? Anybody want to take a guess why? Because people are crazy. Now you say, I'm not crazy. Yeah, you are. We're all a little bit what? We all have our little what? Issues, quirks, whatever. Two things you're going to be in after you get out of high school, out of college. What are they? A career and a relationship. And what is your best tool in both of those? Psychology. Take as many as you can. I don't care if you already taken all your electives. Take 2 more psychologies. Psychologies is one of the most important. If I had to go back and do anything different in my college days, it would be take more psychology classes. Write it down. Okay? 1.1, 51/21. And it's easy to write papers in psychology because all you got to do is sit at the gym or the mall and watch what? People. That's all you got to do. You can write a dissertation. It's easy. All right. 51/21. And extremely important for a researcher to clarify, define variables between the health level. For example, if a researcher wants to describe baseball players based on jersey number, what level of measurement would the variable jersey number be? Okay, that would be ordinal. You could say ordinal because it's in order. You would probably put them in order, but they say nominal because it's nominal. All right, now I'm not going to get into nominal too much with y'all because that's more of a standardized test question. I'm not going to test you on it, but we'll go over that today as we go through the stuff that's important. Does the level of measurement of the variable change in the second scenario? Select the correct. Okay, the first scenario, for example, a researcher wanted to, based on jersey number, blah, 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 blah. Now, suppose the researcher felt that the certain players who were of lower caliber received higher numbers. Does the level of measurement of variable change? I would say yes. Okay. I don't know. Probably change to ordinal maybe because your lowest players have the highest numbers. Okay. Because it's in some kind of what? Order. Ordinal means some kind of order, whether it's chronological order or whether it's by, you know, and I don't know what you're supposed to put here. Ordinal, maybe? I don't know what you're supposed to. I've never seen this question before. This must be a new question. They do put new questions in here every once in a while, so. Yep, ordinal, dang old order. We're going to get into that, so don't worry about it. And this question is 1.3, number 7, number 3. A student entering a doctoral program in educational psychology is required to select 3 courses of the list, blah, blah, blah. List all possible courses. You got 3 courses. Oh, gosh, this is where you have to do this one first, and then a mixture of these 2. Then this one first, and a mixture of these 2. And then this one first, and a mixture of these 2. Okay? So you have to write each one of them down. I'm not going to do that today because we're not going to go through that one because I got to get to one on 1.1 and 1.2. So we'll hold on this one. Okay? But that's how you do it. Just write down 697, 665, 635, 697, 635, 665. Then you got to do the other one. 665, 697, 635, 665, 635, 697. Then the last one, 635, 697, 665, 635, 665, 697. So how many did I just do? 6? There should be about 6. Okay, so you have to write them out. And that's called a sample space. Write that down, sample space. Throw 1.37 sample space. You got to write down each combination. Is this a test question? No. It's a homework question, so we'll go through it. All right. Now, I just went over those questions. Now, usually I go by section. Right now, y'all all over the place. I'm going to erase this one because we went over that one. But right now, y'all are all over the place. You're working on 1.1, 1.3. Eventually, after we get to chapter 3, we're going to go by sections, and that's when the homework questions can come in, and we go over more of an ordinal way of doing things, okay? So with that being said, let's go back to the, go back to my book. Okay, here we go. And chapter contents, e-text, whichever one you want to call it. 1.1, and we'll pull up the text. Okay, there we go. 1.1, e-text, and I'll just go through and highlight what you're supposed to know and what you need to know and all that good stuff. All right, the first thing that you need to know is the difference between uppercase statistics and lowercase statistics. Can anybody, and of course I know that 80% of you probably had this course as your senior year because they didn't want you to fail anything, so they gave you a watered down, so they gave you probability of statistics. Somebody tell me the difference between uppercase statistics and lowercase s statistics. Anybody want to take one? You gotta give me both definitions, not just the one on front of the board. Okay? What's the difference between the two? Okay, thanks for the interaction. Uppercase statistics, meaning that the uppercase S, meaning capital S. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Uppercase is the study of the numbers.
That's right.
Lowercase is the numbers that.
Exactly. Okay, that's right. Statistics uppercase is the field of numbers. Okay, I'm just going to say the field of numbers, which means obtaining, calculating, and interpreting data. You can write that down as far as study of numbers. Okay, gathering, calculating, and interpreting data. Data is the key word because data is considered numbers, but data. Then what's lowercase statistic? Lowercase s statistic is the variables used in a sample calculation. And usually they are letters, L-E-T-T-E-R-S, letters in the alphabet, like X and S. X stands for the mean, S is standard deviation. You use regular letters in your formulas, okay? Now, what's the difference? Well, you're going to see in just a minute when we talk about population. So, statistic, capital S, is the study of numbers, data, obtaining, calculating, interpreting, whatever you want to put. And I try to put this in kind of layman's perspective, layman's language. I don't try to impress you with my intelligence. Okay? Like some teachers do. Okay, here it is. Population. If I tell you what is the difference between a population and a sample, most of you could probably figure it out because of the context of the question. All right? Population is always the bigger body. Okay, just write that down. Population is always the bigger body. Sample is the smaller body. Now, the reason we use sample and population is because of time and money. We cannot do, let's say that I want to find out how many people at Tri-County Technical College are in the Marlboro Club or the Camel Club or the whatever club, all right? I don't want to ask every single student at Tri-County Technical College because then I'd have to travel to Oconee campus, the Easley campus, the Sandy Springs campus, the Pendleton campus, and the Anderson campus. So what I do is I take one of those campuses and I ask the same material, and then I calculate everything through chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I calculate that data, and I find a confidence level to say, okay, Mr. President of Tri-County Tech, blah, blah, blah percent of the students at Tri-County Tech are in the Marlboro Club, okay? I can say this with a 95% confidence level based off of Anderson campus data. You see what I'm saying? Why do I need to do that? Because companies don't want to spend what? Two things. They don't want to spend two things. What is it? Time and money, because both of them are the same, all right, to a company. And you don't want to waste time and money doing the whole population thing. So you have to do the sample, okay? So the population is always the bigger, okay? The sample is always the smaller. Now, when you're doing calculations and presentations, which one's what? Well, you got formulas that are population formulas, and you got formulas that are sample formulas. The difference between the two is the letters, okay? Do you get enough sleep at home? You need to start getting more sleep, okay? Because nobody has ever slept in my class. And I do not understand how you can sleep in my class because, one, I'm loud, okay? And if you must be getting at least 2 hours of sleep. You need to do something about that, okay? Anyway, the whole point is a sample, when you're sitting in a presentation, all right, and you're sitting in a presentation and you ask a question, you don't want to sound what? Ignorant. So when you're sitting in a presentation or you're listening in a class or you're listening at work or whatever, and they throw up sigma or they throw up mu or they throw up delta or phi or whatever, if they throw one of those up, you know you're talking about the population, because population has parameters, which are Greek letters. Population formulas are made up of parameters, which are called Greek letters. Parameters is another word for variables. You know your variables in algebra, X and Y? Okay, well, in statistics, you got to have a little, your pinky up. You got to talk a different language because it's sophisticated. You call them parameters, but it's another 25-cent word for variables. So when you have a formula, mu is equal to X minus sigma, or X minus mu over whatever. They give you a big formula, and it's got all Greek letters, and I can't remember any right now. Then you know, as a presenter or a presentee, if you're sitting in an office meeting, or if you're giving a presentation in an office meeting, you don't sound ignorant by you mixing the two up. And that's the only reason you need to know population parameter, Greek letters, sample, statistic, lowercase, regular letters. So now you know if you're sitting in a presentation, you know what's what. You don't sit there. If I'm giving a presentation and I say that mu is equal to 28 years old and X bar is equal to 26-year-old, then you know that the X bar means the average age at Anderson campus, where the mu is the average age at Tri-County Technical College. Capiche? That's the difference between lowercase statistic and uppercase statistic. Population, parameter, Greek letters, sample, statistic, regular letters. So what does statistic, lowercase, and parameter both mean? Variables. Okay? You're going to find in statistics and probability, and I really think, and please forgive me for saying this, but a lot of people that couldn't make it as mathematicians, they go the statistics route and call themselves statisticians. Okay? And sometimes they have to make big words up to replace the words that are in math. Okay? I know that sounds crazy, but that's just one of my crazy, just like a difference between a histogram and a bar chart. Do you know the difference between a histogram and a bar chart?
Yeah.
The bars touch each other on a histogram. Okay? I really think some people sat back a long time ago and said, we're going to call this because it sounds better. A histogram, bar chart. See? Redneck, bar chart, sophisticated histogram. Same thing with variables. You've used variables all your life in algebra, right? Those of you that's had algebra the last 4 or 5 years, you've used variables. But now they're not called variables. Now they're called lowercase statistic and parameter. See what I'm saying? It's a variable. And the different variables tell you what the different formulas represent. That's why you need to know that. Is this a test question? Hell to the yeah. Okay? Because in this class, in 120 and in high school probability of statistics, we are not trying to get you to master probability of statistics. That's not what our job is. Our job is to show you the basics to when, if you go out in the real world and you're attending a meeting or you're presenting something, you don't sound ignorant. Okay? That's what this class is for. Then it builds into 301 at Clemson. Okay? And then you take 301 at Clemson, then you take 305 and 401, and you take more statistics. And if you want to be a statistician, then you take all those classes. But the whole point is, a lot of people say, well, when are we using? You're not. You're just going to not sound ignorant in a meeting. Okay? And that's one of the reasons I test you on this. So make sure you know this. Page 5. Make sure you know it. Okay? Write those two down. Now, this is important for those of you that do take other statistics later on, especially business majors. Okay? You need to know the difference between the two. And it's very important that you understand what descriptive the statistics is and inferential. Descriptive statistics is basically describe data through numerical summaries, data, your test scores. You know, when you average your grade for the semester that you've been doing for the last, 6, 7 years? Okay, since you were in the 6th, 7th grade and you found out how to take the average. All right? That's called descriptive statistics. Inferential results from a sample, extend to the population, measure the reliability. That's the Marlboro Club. That's how many people in the classroom, how many people at Tri-County Tech wear sandals? And I go to Anderson campus and I ask how many people wear sandals to school at least 90% of the time. Okay, that's inferential. When I actually take a sample and predict, keyword predict for the population. So you can write all that fancy words, or you can say sample predicts for population. It's real simple. So what you need to do is you need to write in your notes your own words. What is a descriptive statistic? I would write down test scores, average of test scores in history. And then I would write inferential, I would write sample predicts population and put out to the side Marlboro Club or Camel Club or smokers or whatever you want to put. You'd be surprised on how many people have taken probability and statistics and don't know the difference between the two, or don't know the difference between continuous and discrete now. It's all how it's explained. You hold your pinky down, it's a whole lot easier to explain stuff. You put your pinky up, you confuse people. Dang old Patrick, putting on ears. A parameter is a numerical summary of a population. No, it's not. A parameter is a variable used in a population formula. Feel good about yourself so you don't put on too much makeup and look like an Oompa Loompa? Y'all never seen the Oompa Loompa? You know, orange face, white neck. Y'all never seen that before? Okay, nobody's going to talk to me.
You're talking about,
I'm talking about women that wear too much makeup. Yeah, that's where Oompa Loompa comes from, yes. But it's women that have an orange face and a white neck. You ever seen one? You will.
See, I'm using the newer one with they don't have orange faces.
Okay, well, that's a good thing because the orange faces run. Guys, run as fast as you can because they're crazy. All right, take it from experience. Dang old bat the headlights. All right, write it down. Page 7, test data. Y'all notice I'm giving y'all these little indicators of people to run away from. I'll give them to you all the way through the semester. You need to write them down. They're good indicators. Qualitative. Qualitative. Quality, not quantity. Quantity, not quality. What's quantity versus quality? Well, let's say that, well, actually, y'all seen the commercial Popeyes where the woman is saying demand and quality, quality goes down as demand goes up, and the woman throws a chicken and said, that's stupid. Y'all ever seen that commercial?
Yeah.
Okay, well, some of y'all don't watch TV at all, so some of y'all, I ain't gonna say it, shut up, Hubert. Y'all sit at home and play games on the PS. The PS system is the worst thing ever invented. Anyway, qualitative or categorical, meaning quality, not quantity. Put down beside qualitative, put blondes, brunettes, and redheads. Or if that offends you, Buttercup, put blue eyes or green eyes. Whatever. Think of another one. What's another qualitative data? Give me another qualitative category.
Car color.
I'm sorry, what?
Car color.
Car color. How about wear glasses or not? How about whether you wear sandals or not? That's qualitative. Now, what I want you to put in your notes, put qualitative, and then put an example, blah, 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 and then put categories. What is a category? Blonde, brunettes, redheads. What's the opposite of category? Class. Not class like holding up your pinky. Class meaning age groups or foot sizes or weight classes. Boxing. I love boxing. I love to watch boxing, okay? Boxing has what? Weight classes. Because that means that the weight is dependent upon that group. It's a class, it's not a category. Category would be whether the boxer is blonde, brunette, or redhead. That would be, who's going to watch a Pacquiao fight? Pacquiao-Broner fight. I'm going to order it. I think Pacquiao is going to take him out. Why do I think that? Because Pacquiao keeps his mouth shut. You ever notice that? He keeps his mouth shut. The ones that are quiet, I learned this in the Marine Corps. The ones that are quiet are the most what? Dangerous. The ones that run their mouth all the time, you can't believe a word they said. Okay? When they're talking about, oh, I killed 15 men. The ones that say that, they ain't done nothing. All right? The ones that say they've seen all this stuff and all this stuff, the ones that come back from war or the ones that go to fight and are, you know, like fighting and they don't say nothing, those are the ones that are most dangerous. Always remember that. And dang old Q-sticks make stitches. All right, so quantitative data means numbers. Okay, so that means weights, means heights, dash. The opposite of categories is classes. It's pretty simple if you think about, you know, the boxing classes. It's pretty simple. And that's on page 7. No more sneezing in class. No coughing in class either. All you can do in here is breathe. All right, a discrete variable. We've talked about this. A discrete variable is something that is counted. How about the number of wins and losses of a football team? That's discrete. Are you going to say, well, I know they won that game, but they really lost, so we're going to count that one as a loss? No. You either won or you lost. There is no in between. What about a tie? Well, that's a tie. We're not asking when. We said how many you win, how many you lost. The ties, you count ties also. You don't measure winning or losing. Okay? Well, after the game is over, it's what? It's counted. Now, while the game is going on, it's measured. But after the game is over, it's what? Counted. A lot of people go, wow, never thought of it like that. Well, it is. Because what is the game doing throughout the whole football game or basketball game? The lead does what? It changes. So it's being measured. And then after the game is over, it's counted. Continuous. Again, all you got to put for continuous is measured. Measured means weight, height, area, volume, time. Now, again, there are some teachers that will argue for time. But time is one of those things that you can relate to both. So I kind of leave time to the back burner. If I was to use a question, it would not be time on a test. It would be height, weight, area, volume, shoe size. You know, you could extend that to weight of a paper clip. Anything having to do with weight, volume, length, anything like that, anything measured is continuous. Capiche? Capiche means do you understand? You're supposed to say yes or no. Thanks for the interaction, class. You suck. All right. Then there's some examples of discrete. I'm not going to go through that. There's a good example, page 8. You got samples right there. Okay? Now, these things that I'm covering are testable. In other words, everything that I skip, I usually don't test you on. So, okay, here's the thing I want you to write down. You don't have to write it word for word. But I want you to write it down, and some of you, if you don't feel like writing, if you've had a rough night, you've been working or whatever, just put page number 9, green box. I'm trying to move it over for you. It's not cooperating. The Russians have taken over. When something don't work, who do you blame? There you go. You don't take, it's not integrity. You don't put it on yourself. You blame it on what? Somebody else. Yes. Nominal level of measurement. The value of the variable label categorized. In addition, the naming scheme does not follow. Now they're going to give you some examples on the next page or so. It's better to write them down than to write the definition down. But ordinal means order. So the only thing you need to put beside ordinal is order. Interval, the value of 0 does not mean the absence of quantity. Write that down. Interval means a value of 0 does not mean blah, 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 the absence of quantity. Where ratio, poor old ratio, a value of 0 does mean absence of quantity. Absence of quantity means 0 means what? 0. And you'll see that better with some examples on the next page. Sometimes it's better to give you examples before the definition, and sometimes it's best to give the definition and let the samples, examples kind of reinforce that. So we're going to look at the examples here in just a second. So tell me this. I don't watch the NFL because the NFL can go to hell for all I care. Who is going to be in the Super Bowl? I don't even know. Are they still doing the playoffs? They're still in the playoffs? I'm sorry, what?
Saints and the Rams.
They playing for the NFC?
No, but that's what's going to win.
Oh. Is the Rams in the AFC or the NFC? They in the AFC? I thought they were in the NFC. Who's playing in the AFC? Kansas City or?
I think the Chiefs do win that.
Chiefs and Patriots.
Chiefs and the Patriots. So it's going to be the Chiefs or the Patriots and the Rams or the Saints. Well, one of my teams, I'll give you my 3 teams, okay? You want to know my 3 teams? Even though I don't watch the NFL anymore. One is the Atlanta Falcons. I've been an Atlanta Falcons fan since '69 when they were formed, okay? I was like 3 years old, and I guess I was watching them in all the red. I guess I don't know. I've just followed them ever since, and they choke. I know, they're just like the Braves. They choke. I know that. But the second one is the Saints. And the third is the Green Bay Packers, because when I was a kid, my Santa Claus brought me a Green Bay Packer helmet, and I still got it. But anyway, it's old. Anyway, that's why I like those 3 teams. Has nothing to do with the way they play. So, okay, I'll shut up. Well, I hope is Breeze still? I think that's why a lot of people, Breeze is kind of like Peyton. Or what's his name? Peyton Manning. People just love the team because they love Breeze. Because I couldn't tell you another player on that. I don't know any other player on that team. But I used to be, but I'm not anymore. Not until they change their ways. All right. So I'm going to turn the page. There we go. And they give you, and just write down gender. And temperature. Why is temperature interval? Because 0 degrees temperature does not mean the absence of what? Heat. And when you get into your sciences, you'll understand that. No yawning in class either. If you yawn. There was a teacher. Okay, I'm going to tell you some teachers. Teacher, if you yawn more than 3 times, she would throw you out of class. Of course, she got fired.
Oh, she watching you like
There are some dumb A teachers have been at Tri-County Tech. They had a speech teacher that decided that soft porn would be good to show during a class.
What would be the educational purpose?
None. It's called DAD syndrome. And then we had a couple other. We had a red Solo Cup teacher. He would drink 3 full glasses of red Solo Cup by 11 o'clock. He would come in with a Solo Cup at 8 o'clock, put it on the desk, drink on it, go out to his truck or car or whatever, bring his second one about 9:30. And then by 11 o'clock, he was on his third one. If I bring a piece of rum cake to school, oh my God. But these people can do this. But he got fired too. All three of these people got fired. And then there was the Spanish teacher who didn't know to lock his door when he was in his office, and that's all I'm going to say about that. He got fired.
Oh, God.
Now, you don't know what he was doing. He could have been doing drugs, okay? He could have been doing it. But the whole thing is, if you're going to do something wrong, okay, or illegal, I said wrong or illegal. I didn't say, what he was doing. If you're going to close your door and do something wrong or illegal in your office, lock it. I tell you, nowadays, if you've been 20 years anywhere, you're pretty smart because there's some dumb people out there. Let me tell you. You're going to find out. Some of y'all thought high school ends with high school. It doesn't. The DADs that were in your classes in high school, they do make it to the office and they get fired usually because they DADs. I tell my son that all the time. He don't believe it. He's finding out. He said, Daddy, you're right. These people are dumb. I said, yep. It's not entirely their fault. It's the Russians' fault. Okay, so temperature, 0 does not mean what? Absence of heat. It's just something that we use to measure temperature. Okay? Whereas a letter grade, okay, if I have 0 A's in my class, does 0 mean 0? Yes. All right? So there are some examples. Now, why do I show you this on number 9 and 10? Because of later classes and because of standardized testing. Some of you are still being taught for the ACT and all that good stuff. All right? You might see this on a standardized test. You're not going to see it on my test, but you'll see it on a standardized test. Okay? So that's kind of for your information. And that's 1.1. So let's move on to 1.2. And like I say, this is what I do for chapter 1 and chapter 2. So after next week, probably, we're going to start chapter 3. And that's when we get into 80% of the test. Okay? All right. This is an observational study versus a experiment. This is where we start getting into bias. All right. There's the two right there. Now, how many of you have seen commercials or videos or YouTube videos of people during a sleep apnea observation? It's usually a night vision. It's usually green. And you watch the person sleep and they toss and turn. They got wires hooked up to them. You ever seen one of those? Well, I'm using an example, so y'all work with me, okay? All right. What is that? That's an observation. What's an observation? Well, it's when you watch people. Sounds bad to say that, but it's when you watch people. So a pervert, that's observation, okay? A stalker, that's observation. Just remember that. Observation means you only what? Watch people and observe people. That's why it's called an observation. Now, what if every time that person fell asleep, I shot him with 110 volts of electricity? Then the observation has turned into a what? Experiment. An experiment is when something is interjected. Write that down. Something is interjected. That's the simplest definition of experiment versus observation that I can give you. You can say inserted. You can say interjected. You can say interrupted. You can say whatever you want to. Something is introduced. Something is inserted into the observation. And the best thing I can say is if I'm watching somebody sleep, that is an observation. When they wake up or when they move, I shock them with 110 volts of electricity. That is an experiment. Something is interjected. If I watch a mouse in a maze, that is an observation. If I put cheese in several of the corridors of the maze, that is a what? Experiment. Because I have put something into the observation. Simple as that. Test question? Yes. See, you can do a lot of these definitions in one sentence and one example instead of a whole paragraph. I don't do compounding. I don't do that either. This stuff that you're going to find out later if you even take statistics. That's in your second and third year of statistics. Now, I'm going to give you this because this is a standardized test question. Everybody in here should know what a census is. A census is basically obtaining data about a population. And in the United States, it's taken what? Every what? 10 years. And it's illegal to ask if you're a U.S. citizen. That blows my mind. The whole point of taking a census is to find information on who's what in the country. But they're fighting in courts right now whether you can ask somebody if they're a citizen of the United States. I guess soon it'll be illegal to ask you if you're a citizen if you're running for president. Buttercups and... Shut up, Hubert. That's 1.2. Wow. Don't blink. I think they could have added that to 1.1, but that's just me. 1.3, I must have skipped it. Well, I guess we did skip it. There it is. Okay, what is a random sample? This is a test question. It's a standardized test question. It's a question you're going to see in the future. What is a random sample? Without looking at the definition, somebody tell me, just layman's term, what is a random sample?
It's like choosing something where everything's equal, there's no bias.
That's exactly everybody has the same chance of being picked. All your names in a bowl. A fish bowl. If I take a yellow Post-it note and I put everybody's first name, middle initial, and last name in pink writing on a yellow Post-it note, fold it in half and put it in a fish bowl, shake it up and pull one name out, that is a random sample. What if one of the Post-it notes is pink? It's not a random sample. Why? Because there is something introduced to make the person that's picking either not pick or pick that pink piece of paper. You see what I'm saying? Even the least little bit of bias can be in the color of the sheet. Now, what if all of them were different colors? That's a random sample. Okay? But you can't have uniformity, then have non-uniformity, and have a random sample. You see what I'm saying? Okay? What if I folded 5 of those pieces of paper differently? Not a random sample. Everything has to be uniform in a random sample. That's why everybody has to be on, yellow paper. Now, what if I write my name in black? Well, that can be argued since the paper is folded. Does it matter? No, not really, because that's concealed. So the ink really don't matter. What? That's fine. I know, you're trying. That's good. Okay, you're going to fail. Random sample means everybody has the same chance of being what? Picked. That's all you got to write. Everybody has the same or equal chance. And as he said, no bias. Now, bias is a very, very strong word in statistics. It's probably going to be on the next page, if not the other samples. But very, very strong. We'll get into that after we talk about the samples. Let's see. Simple random sample is where you have a group. All right, I'm not gonna do just say group. Let's say instead of putting everybody's name on a piece of paper, I put these 2 people's name on a piece of paper. Then I put these 3 people's name, and then those 4 people, and those 4 people, and those 4 people. And instead of having 30 pieces of paper, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 pieces of paper with groups of names on each one. That is a simple random sample where you actually use a group instead of individuals. So instead of having 9 pieces or 30 pieces of paper in a bowl, I only have what? 9. Everybody has the same chance of being what? Picked, because there's 9 pieces of paper. Okay? That's the difference between a random sample and a simple random sample. And then they're going to do convenience sample And as soon as I get there, you can write them down. Well, if we ever get there. Okay. I have no idea. Okay, I guess they're not going to do simple random sample. How far we go in chapter 1? There we go, systematic. Here we go. How far we go in chapter 1? 1.5 or 1.6? Somebody look in your outline. Everybody should have one. Oh no, the dog ate mine. Huh?
1.5.
Okay, so we're in 1.4, I think, right now. I don't know. Systematic sample. Besides a random sample or a system random sample, a simple random sample, this is your number 3. And this is called a systematic sample. Instead of picking every person in the group to put into the bowl, I pick every third person. 1, 2, 3, put his name in the bowl. 1, 2, 3, put her name in the bowl. 1, 2, 3, his name in the bowl. Every third person. Now, every third person wouldn't be good for winning $100 in a drawing. Okay, that would be unfair. But every third person walking out of this building asking them if they drive a white car would be. So, systematic sample is good for surveys. Why? Because you don't have to interview what? Every single person. And if you don't interview every single person, they're not losing out on like a raffle. On a raffle, you want to do a random sample. Whereas a survey, you could do all 3. And then they're going to do a convenience sample probably. I wish they wouldn't draw this out, but they're cluster sample. A cluster sample would be like taking a survey at a voting precinct. Why? Why is that a cluster sample? Because within a voting precinct, how many different people you got? Usually about 3. You got Republican, Democrat, and other. Okay? Now you could break it down to 5 groups if you wanted to. Libertarian, Green Party, Communist Party, Socialistic Party, whatever you want to call them. Okay? You got all kinds of different parties now. I wish there was 15 parties. I wish they would do away with 2 parties. But that ain't never going to happen because those people in D.C. won't let that happen. But I'll shut up. Okay? The whole point is you already have groups inside of where you're going at a voting precinct. You see what I'm saying? That's a cluster sample. A cluster sample would be the actual precinct. How many precincts are in Anderson County? 46 or 47. So that means that I could take a pick. There's 46 clusters in Anderson County because that's the voting precinct. You see what I'm saying? Clusters, groups. What would that be good in? It'd be good in taking a poll or a survey. Convenience, least reliable. A convenience sample would be like me working at a radio station that just played rock and roll and saying, you know what, I want to find out what my people are listening to. So I put on the airwaves. How many of you listen to rock and roll music? Call in right now. What's wrong with that? And that's all I play. So what is the outcome going to be?
Yes.
Everybody loves rock and roll, which is a pretty good statement. All right? Convenience sample. That's usually the least reliable. Now, I'm not going to test you. I will test you on random sample and probably systematic random sample. Okay? But all the other ones you need to know for your, standardized test in future classes. So you need to kind of do some kind of system in your notes for test questions and standardized test questions. So you'll know the difference between 2, maybe 2 different highlighters. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Because I do that, especially in these first 2 chapters, because it's all reading. After we get to the math part, there won't be any of that. And here they give you examples. Okay? And that's 1.4. Can't believe we hadn't got to bias yet. Must be in 1.5. Yep. Next to statistics and some of the other definitions I've given you, this is number 1 most important. Most important word there is. You cannot be a statistician, or you cannot do true statistics if you are what? Biased. And that's one of the words that have been really in the math community and in the political community and in the media and all that, because it's extremely biased now. You used to be, and when I was a kid, you used to turn on the news, and it used to be what? News. You know, Russia did this. California had a wildfire, blah, blah, blah. Now it's not that way. Now it's, okay, we're going to put a little bit of news, but we're going to tell you our what? Opinion. And see, it's gotten real, it's out of hand. And I'm talking about all sides. I'm not talking about just one side. Okay? But our media, and this is just my own opinion, our media is not where it needs to be. Our media needs to tell the news, not tell us how to think. Period. I'm for free thinking. All right? A lot of people say I'm very political as a teacher. Yeah, I'm very political. I want everybody to get out. I want you to do research on your candidate, and I want you to vote and support whoever you want to. But don't support them if you don't know how to spell cat. All right? Don't support them if you're dumb on the issues. No, I'm not for that. I'm for free thinking, and I'm for support whoever you want to. I'm anti-media telling you how to think. So if you want to call me political over that statement, go ahead. But the bias is no good on both sides. Okay? Question. Okay, now this class starts at 8 and ends at 9:35, right? 9:25, because some of y'all are starting to have convulsions, and I got 5 minutes to go. Some of y'all are already starting to have convulsions. All right, it'll be okay. All right, let me go ahead and pass the do-jigger around. So, Math 1. Would you put the date on it right there beside 110, whatever the date is? Put a check beside your name, please. Pass it around so those people having convulsions can, get out of here before they die. All right. Bias. What does bias mean? Give me layman's term. Don't give me that term. What does bias mean?
Having favor over something.
Exactly. Let's say that I want to show y'all who's going to win the next election, blah, 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 for whatever office. And I say, you know what? I'm going to go across the United States, and I'm going to survey 5,000 people across the United States. And I go across the United States, and I say, John Smith is going to be the next blah, blah, blah. But what I neglected to tell you is that I went from South Carolina to Georgia to Alabama to Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and California. I hope I got most of them in there. What did I just do? I went across the United States, did I not? But what did I do? I went across the South. Why? Well, South is traditionally what? It's a one way or the other. It's conservative, all right? Most of us, except for California, which we won't even go there. I lived out there for 6 months. I didn't leave anything out there, let me tell you. All right, so there's good people in California, but they're weird. They're weird. Unicorns and candy mountains, that's where some of them, they live in a different world out there. Anyway, the whole point is I went across the United States. Did I lie to you? No. But I withheld information that I went across the South. That can be biased, okay? Something else that can be biased is, when you do a survey and say, you're not going to vote for Republicans in the next election, are you? Or you're not going to vote for people with black hair in the next election, are you? Okay, you're not supposed to lead questions. That's another form of bias. Another form of bias is changing your data. Oh, well, that's not the way I wanted this to turn out. Okay, what I'll do is I'll do this, and I'll do this, and change the data. Is this done? Yes, it's done a lot. That's why it's important for students coming out of college or high school to know the difference between a biased poll and a non-biased poll, because that is part of free thinking. It's part of learning and educating yourself. and not being dumb and ignorant. I'll be honest with you, it's rampant. It's on both sides, and the only thing that you can do is educate yourself. And not only just in the math, but all other areas. There's bias in all kinds of media. So you need to look for it. I'll give you an example, of course not today because some of y'all are going to explode, but there are some instances that you can actually see it on the television. And I'm not talking about personalities and talking about on polls. Oh, look at this poll, blah, 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 blah. And they neglect to show you that what is the margin of error? 8% margin of error. Anything above 3% is worthless. It should be 3% or what? Below. They don't show you that down there. They only say, it's 1,000 people, but they won't tell you the margin of error. But they have to put it down there. And not a lot of people know that above 5 or above 3, depending on how many is surveyed, it's not good. They did a poll one time during the Republican nomination, okay? The Republican nomination right before one of the debates because they were trying to influence voters. And they said, the person that's going to win the nomination is blah, blah, blah. And you know how many people they surveyed? 100. And the margin of error was like 9%. So they were trying to influence. When people watched the debate, they were trying to influence people by putting a poll up that said 9% margin of error. So you got to watch for that stuff. Okay, like I said, some of y'all are going to explode. So we are on 1 point what? So that means that y'all need to be working on 1.1 through 1.4 homework. Send in questions. Y'all have a good day. And I'll post the recording right now so y'all can watch it if you're absent. Glad y'all got to see me today.